Who gives... Wow! Yow! Who gives a rip anyway? Who cares what Gandhi thinks? Who cares what all these people on the street think about Christians? Who cares? Well, I care. I care that we, the church in general, we're not accurately showing the heart of Christ to the people who need Him. I'm grieved that someone like Gandhi could like Christ, but not like Christ's followers. I'm grieved that when Jesus walked this earth, sinners flocked to Him, but they're not flocking to our churches because they don't feel it's a safe place. They felt that it was a safe place with Jesus. I'm grieved that this quote from Gandhi too often reflects the true feelings of the people outside the church today. People who are not Christians, and even some that are Christians, see Christians in America as hypocritical. Now, this is mostly an American thing. Churches showing God's love in other countries very well. But the American church has lost its ways in some ways. We preach the gospel of love and forgiveness when in all actuality, sometimes we come across as hateful. Even when we seem to have a positive motive, sometimes we have ulterior motives. In the book Unchristian, David Kinnaman, who was a research expert for the Barna Group, says that they're finding that young outsiders generally do not get the impression that Christians have good intentions when it comes to trying to convert them. Most reject the ideas that Christians show genuine interest in them as individuals. We're only worried about converts, because that's how we come across. Folks, people think we're more concerned about making converts than we are about them as individuals. And I'm grieved about that. There's an old saying that goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Non-Christians believe that we hate homosexuals, and it's no wonder they believe that, with groups like the Westboro Baptist Church holding signs that say that God hates fags, picketing funerals. And I know that that's a way out there type of church, but people on the outside say they see that and say that those guys claim to be Christians, so all Christians must feel that way. We have to make sure that our hatred for sin doesn't become hatred for individuals, no matter what they're doing. It's right that we hate sin. It's right that we hate homosexuality. It's right that we hate these sins. But we are not to hate the people who do sin. We make homosexuality out to be a sin that's worse than any other sin that anyone could commit. But folks, sin is sin. Homosexuality is sexual immorality. And sexual immorality takes many forms. It's not any worse than any other sin. Non-Christians believe that Christians are sheltered. They're out of touch with reality. They think we're too political, and they think we're too judgmental. And I agree, sometimes we are too judgmental. Now, I know that there are no perfect churches out there. And I don't believe a church has to be perfect. And in fact, if you find a perfect church, don't join it, because then it won't be perfect anymore. So I'm not talking about being a perfect church. But we have to drop this holier-than-thou attitude and love people where they are. Stop trying to look and act like the perfect Christian. And let others see your flaws. And let them see Jesus working through your flaws, still working in your life, even though you're not perfect. Let people know that you're real, that you make mistakes, that you sin. Let them know that. We're not fooling them anyway by putting on these perfect masks. They're seeing right through it. They're calling us hypocrites. People are searching for a faith that's real. They're searching for a Jesus that's real. Let's be a church that shows them the real Jesus. Not this one that we try to portray sometimes. I'm talking about humbling ourselves before Jesus and asking Him to search our hearts and to show us ourselves and show us the real Jesus with spiritual eyes. I'm also talking about asking Him to make us attractive to unbelievers. For us to be people who join the rest of the human race instead of being fake. To become one follower of Christ that gives someone somewhere a taste of what the real God is like, what the heart of God is like. We need to stop being so prudish and start going to the places people who are lost will go. People who are lost go to bars. People who are lost go to restaurants that serve alcohol. A lot of Christians won't go in these places. But Jesus was accused of being an alcoholic because He was in these places, reaching the people that needed Him. Now, I'm not saying that you go join them in what they're doing, but you can frequent those places. Carefully. Rather than trying harder to be like Christ, we need the real Christ to show Himself in our lives. And that begins with brokenness. Stop the show of imperfection because it repels those outside the church. Or the show of perfection, I mean. And it also repels a lot of those inside of the church as well. People see through it. Where did we get the idea that it is us that set the example and draw people to Christ? Where did we get that idea? With that idea, that ends up in superficiality. It ends up in hypocrisy. It led to superficiality and hypocrisy in Jesus' time as well. Matthew 23, verse 27 says, "Woe to you." I'll give you time. I can hear some bitches. That's right up there.
I want it in my own book, thank you.
Yes.
They don't trust that.
I don't trust that.
It's not approved.
You can continue as far as I'm concerned.
Are you there?
I'm there now.
Okay. Matthew 23:27. "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You're like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean." The Pharisees and the teachers of the law in Jesus' time were the religious leaders of the day. They missed the point. Don't miss the point. Let's admit that we fall short, and yes, that the church has failed, and we often don't show His love. This type of honesty may be just what it takes to begin to draw others to the perfection of Christ when we admit our own imperfection. We've missed the point when we think our own holiness is what will attract others to Jesus. That's not what attracts people to Jesus. It's the love of Jesus that attracts people to Jesus. Jesus said in John 12, verse 32, and this is short, I'll just read it. He said, "And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." We can never be as holy as Jesus this side of heaven. So let's stop putting on these masks, trying to look better than what we are. No one believes you anyway. I believe the church has failed in a lot of ways in showing Christ to the world. I believe the church has failed in the area of communicating love for others. That's the second of the greatest commandments Jesus gave us. He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All of the law and the prophets hang on those two commandments. All the law and the prophets. All the law and the prophets hang on those two commandments. Don't miss the point. The point is love. Love God. Love your neighbor. It's that simple. All the law and the prophets hang on those two commandments. When we treat homosexuals as if they've committed a sin that's worse than any other sin, we fail to show them love. When we condemn a woman who's had an abortion, we don't show her love. There's a book called Blue Like Jazz. It's written by Donald Miller. And he tells the story of a few Christian friends building a confessional booth on their college campus in the biggest party night of the year. As people would stroll by, they would begin to talk to them, and instead of encouraging the sinners and the partiers to confess their sins, the Christians would confess their own failings and apologize to them for the actions of the church over history and in current events. It was a pretty interesting thing, and those guys made a lot of friends that night through that confession booth. It was just being real with people. 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13, and I will let you go there. Give you a chance to get there.
Pick and choose what scriptures I can read. Thanks,
Yes.
Reverend.
You can even read the King's English if you wish.
Don't have that.
It says, if I speak with tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I have nothing. I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. There's a tough one. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they'll be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection in the mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now, these three remain. Faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is what?
Love.
The greatest greatest of these is what?
Love.
The greatest of these is love.
Vengeance.
That comes after.
Don't miss the point. Let's be a church that doesn't miss the point. The point is to love God and to love others. When we do that, people will see Jesus in us and be drawn to Him. How do I know that? How do I know that by showing love, people are going to see Jesus?
That's how you came to Christ.
What?
That's how you came to Christ.
Mhm.
That's how I came to Christ.
When people see love, they see Jesus because the Bible says God is love. 1 John 4:8. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. I have another video for you.
Found when Dad was alive. Come on, celebrate. Celebrate, celebrate. I had to go on a speaking engagement to Honolulu. Hey, sometimes you get Chicago, sometimes you get Honolulu. You go to Honolulu, you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning if you're from the East Coast because of the time difference, and I was hungry. I went looking for something to eat up a side street. I found a greasy spoon. I went in. There were no booths, just a row of stools in front of the counter. I sat down. There was nobody in the place. I didn't touch the menu. It was one of those plastic menus, you know, and grease had piled up on it. I knew that if I opened the thing, something extraterrestrial would have crawled out. This fat guy with a greasy apron, unshaved, cigar comes out, puts the cigar down and says, "What do you want?" I said, "A cup of coffee and a donut." He poured the coffee, and then he did this. And he picked up the donut. I hate that. So I'm sitting there, 3:30 in the morning, munching on my dirty donut. Went into this place from about 10 or 11 prostitutes. And they sat on either side of me. And it was a small place. And I tried to disappear. The one next to me was especially boisterous, and she said to her friend, "Tomorrow's my birthday. I'm going to be 39. And her friend said, "So what do you want me to do? Sing happy birthday? So you're going to be 39. You want a cake? You want a party?" First woman said, "Look, I don't want anything. I'm just telling you it's my birthday. Why do you have to hurt my feelings?" And then she added, "I've never had a birthday party in my whole life. I don't expect to have one now." That did it. I waited until they left. And then I called Harry over. I said, "Do they come in here every night?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "The one right next to me." He said, "Agnes." I said, "It's her birthday tomorrow, Harry. What do you say we decorate this place? And when she comes in tomorrow night, we have a little party for her. She's never had a party in her whole life." He grabbed my hand and squeezed it and said, "Mister, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Jane, come out here. This guy wants to throw a birthday party for Agnes. It's her birthday tomorrow." She came out and she said, "Oh, mister, that's brilliant. Nobody ever does anything for Agnes, and she's one of the good people in this town. I know what she does to make money, but she's a good person." I said, "Can I decorate the place?" She said, "To your heart's content." I said, "I'm going to bring a big birthday cake." Harry said, "Oh, no, the cake's my thing." Oh, jeez. So I got there the next morning at about 2:30. I bought this crepe paper at the Kmart. I strung it across the place. I made a big sign, "Happy Birthday, Agnes," put it on the mirror behind the counter. I had the place spruced. It was red. Jan, who did the cooking, had gotten the word out on the street. By 3:15, every single prostitute in Honolulu was squeezed into this diner. It was wall-to-wall prostitutes. And me! 3:30 in the morning, the door opens. In comes Agnes and her friends. I've got everybody set, everybody ready. As they come to the door, we yell, "Happy birthday, Agnes!" and start cheering like mad. I've never seen anybody so stunned in my life. Her knees buckled. They studied her. They got her down on the stool, and we started singing, "Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you." When they brought out the cake with the candles, that was it. She lost it and started to cry. Harry just stood there with the cake, with all the candles. Said, knock it off. Come on, Agnes, knock it off and block the candles. Come on, block the candles. She tried, but she couldn't do it, so he blew out the candles. He gave her the knife and said, now cut the cake. Come on now, cut the cake, Agnes, cut the cake. She sat for a long moment, and then she turned to me and she said, mister, I really don't want to cut the cake. Is it okay if I don't cut the cake? I said, it's your cake. It's your cake. You can do with it what you want. She said, I want to take it home. I want to show it to my mother. Is that okay? I said, sure. She stood up. I said, do you have to do it now? She said, I live 2 doors down. Let me take the cake to her. And I promise I'll bring it right back. I promise. She picked up the cake like it was the Holy Grail. And she pushed her way through the crowd and out the door. And as the door swung slowly shut, there was dead silence. You talk about an awkward silence. All of us were just standing there, stunned. I didn't know what to say, so I finally said, what do you say we pray? It's weird looking back on it now. A sociologist leading a prayer meeting with a bunch of prostitutes in a diner at 3:30 in the morning. It was the right thing to do. And I prayed that God would deliver her from what filthy men had done to her, probably starting when she was too young to even know what was going on. That's how these things start. You know, some kid, 11, 12 years old, gets messed over by some filthy slob, and her self-image is destroyed, and she's ruined, and we blame her when we ought to be blaming him. And I prayed that God would make her new, because we're here to declare good news. And no matter where you've been or what you've done, Jesus can make you new. When I finished the prayer, Harry leaned across the counter and said, hey, Camp Paulo, you told us you were a sociologist. You're a preacher. What kind of church you preaching? And in one of those moments, when you come up with just the right words, I said, I preach in a church that throws birthday parties for whores at 3:30 in the morning. I'll never forget his response. Never. He said, no, you don't. Nah, you don't. He said, I would join a church like that. Wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all love to belong to a church that threw birthday parties for whores at 3:30 in the morning? I got news for you. I got news for you. That is the kind of church that Jesus came to create. I don't know where we got this other one that's half country club. But Jesus came to create a people that would bring parties to those who have no parties. Celebration into the lives of people who have nothing to celebrate. If all you've got to offer is a bowl of soup and some clothes, it's not enough. Jesus came and said, I have come that my joy might be in you and that your joy might be full. And we've got to do more than just give them bread and clothes. We've got to bring love and joy into their lives.
What kind of church do you want to be? What kind of church do you want to be? I want to be that kind of church.
Amen.
One that brings joy into people's lives, no matter who they are, no matter what they do. That's the kind of church Jesus came to start. Would you pray with me? God, we thank you for your word. We thank you for the example that you showed us in your word. Lord, that we don't wait for people to come to us, but we go to them. Wherever they are, whoever they are, and show them the love of Christ. God, I just pray that your love break out through this nation, that people would see the real you and come to your church as a safe place. Help us to be that safe place. Father, we love you. Help us to love others as you do. Help us to see others through your eyes. Help us to love perfectly. If we don't do anything else perfect, Lord, help us to love perfectly. In the name of Christ I pray. Amen.
Amen.